Look at everybody. All right. What comes to mind when you think of language? What do you think when you see this? That is the sign for I love you in sign language. American Sign Language, otherwise known as ASL, is a language using the movement of hands and expression of the face. It has the same linguistic properties as spoken languages, has unique grammar, and has different aspects of language in different regions. For example, BSL is British Sign Language. ASL is primarily used for people that are deaf and/or have communication disorders. This language is a unique and expressive form of communication. I've taken a few levels of ASL and plan to continue my education with the language in the future. Today, I would like to discuss the origin of American Sign Language and ASL compared to other languages. First, we can talk about the basics of ASL. Let's talk about the origin. Sign language itself, in many forms, has been around for more than 500 years. According to National Geographic, some of the first aspects of a formal sign language were put in place by monks. Deaf people had been believed to not be intelligent enough to learn a language on their own, and therefore thought to not be able to communicate. American Sign Language did not form until deaf education began in the United States. According to Start ASL, the history of ASL was founded in the early 1800s by Dr. Thomas Hopkins Gallaudet. He researched communication for the deaf and eventually started a school, American School for the Deaf, which would later grow to Gallaudet University, which is the only deaf university in the world. Now that we have talked about the origin of sign language, let's talk about ASL as compared to a spoken language. American Sign Language and spoken language have many similarities. American Sign Language is a natural language and form of communication, just like spoken language. ASL has its own grammar and characteristics of language. In the case of ASL, signs are the units of language that, just as words are units of sounds for spoken language. According to IHP services, these units can be combined in different ways to express meaning, such as adding ed to a word to make it past tense. Changing the sign can make it have a different meaning as well. Sign language has nouns, adjectives, and verbs to communicate, just as spoken language does. Like on this sheet, take a look. You can see the signs for see and for school. It has different nouns and verbs. Although ASL is similar to spoken language, it also has differences. The main difference between the languages are that spoken languages are heard and sign language is not. They make use of gestures instead of spoken speech. Sign language uses expression and signs to communicate language. These signs actually represent the object or the movement, such as the sign for tree has the tree waving in the wind, like with the branches. According to brain facts, these languages use different parts of the brain, such as spoken language is heard and uses the auditory cortex when you're listening, whereas sign language uses the visual aspect. There is still discussion over the parts of the brain used for ASL and for spoken language and which ones of these develop faster. Today I've discussed the origin of American Sign Language and compared it to spoken languages. American Sign Language is a language of gestures and body movements. It is officially formed from the American School for the Deaf in 1817. ASL is similar to spoken language as it is used to communicate and has units of language such as grammar and word types. ASL also has differences such that it is not heard and mainly seen. It is very expressive as tone of voice cannot be used to differentiate meaning. American Sign Language is a beautiful language that is very important to communities that use it. Thank you for listening to my speech, and I hope that you feel more informed on American Sign Language.